President Trump and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo met in the White House Thursday, but they weren't able to cut a deal on the president's ban on New Yorkers participating in the Secure Traveler program. The ban is in response to New York's green light law allowing illegals to get driver's licenses. Here to discuss that, as well as the state of law and order in this country when it comes to sanctuary cities and illegal immigration, is Acting Deputy Secretary at the Homeland Security Department, as well as Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Ken Cuccinelli. All right, Ken. All right, so we've got Andrew Cuomo, who decides that illegals should get driver's licenses. So the president says, okay, you want to do that, then I need to have access to that information if I'm going to allow New Yorkers to access global entry to get into this country quicker, because I need to know who these people are. And Cuomo says you're not getting any of this information. So New Yorkers freak out. I was one of them because I travel a lot. And they meet on Thursday. Anything happen?
Well, we didn't resolve anything. We certainly had a vigorous chat, but I would note that it wasn't the key wasn't that they gave licenses to illegals. 13 states do that. The key was that they cut off the Department of Homeland Security from having access from their DMV databases, which are absolutely critical to conducting law enforcement and national security work for the Department of Homeland Security. And it's amazing that one of the 3 states, like mine, Virginia, that was hit on 9/11 is walking backwards on this kind of critical information sharing. But that's exactly what they're doing for their political virtue signaling.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. What is the information that the federal government could access from those records that would help you guys decide whether or not someone is a danger to the rest of us?
Well, there are a number of things in that database, Judge. There's, first of all, simply confirming if you have a driver's license whether this is real and this is actually the identification, the identity of the person in front of you if you're a law enforcement officer, or if you're looking up witnesses in an investigation, or if you come up on a vehicle, knowing who owns that vehicle, and are there any warrants, or is it a stolen vehicle? The most dangerous thing law enforcement does, and our law enforcement agents do this too, is come up on a vehicle they've had to pull over because there's been a violation of law, or they're looking for something associated with that vehicle. It's a very dangerous moment for a law enforcement officer. And finally, all the updated criminal information, warrants, temporary restraining orders on people who've committed domestic violence, all sorts of things are contained in that database, and they obviously tell us whether this person, A, can be a trusted traveler for the Trusted Traveler programs that you referenced, and B, whether they're who they say they are, and C, whether they're dangerous to that law enforcement officer. There's an awful lot that comes through that database.
And, you know, the concept of this, along with sanctuary cities, where you've got the liberals on the left, and I talked about this in my open, not allowing law enforcement to access information so that you guys can protect the safety of innocent Americans, is absolutely stunning to me. And I understand that the president has just recently decided to take some of the Border Patrol off of the border and to start sending them into the cities to assist in some investigations.
So a number of different federal law enforcement officers you'll see supporting ICE in their efforts to do removals and to enforce immigration laws of various kinds. And CBP obviously partners with ICE in many other areas, is the one you've read about most recently. They're not the only ones who do that work, and it's actually not all that unusual. It got a lot of news this week. But we're looking for any ways we can, because it is a priority for the president and this White House to expand our ability to enforce immigration law.
And, you know, in the end, I was looking at the cost. It says a FAIR study in 2017 found that illegal immigrants are a net consumer of taxpayer benefits worth more than $100 billion a year, not including the cost of enforcing the border. And the American Medical Association found a federal state immigration insurance program $2 billion a year in emergency treatment, not including $1.24 billion in infant delivery expenses. But why doesn't the left talk about this? Why is it always we got to let them all in? We've got to let them all in. We can't afford it.
Right. Because it defeats their goal of letting them all in and erasing our border and our sovereignty. And there are real costs. You talked about some dollars, Judge. There are human costs. There are all of these crimes in sanctuary cities, and it isn't a question of the rate of crime. These are crimes that are 100% preventable. You heard from my friend Pam Bondi there. We were both AGs together. She was a prosecutor before that. These are people who shouldn't even have to be taken off the street because they shouldn't even be in this country. And for every single one of those that the left is trying to protect and defend, there are crime victims harmed by those people. And that's who we prioritize. And President Trump emphatically prioritizes protecting those crime victims.
All right, Ken Cuccinelli, thanks so much for being with us tonight.